SoCalBio is a non-profit trade association for the biotech and medical device industries in LA and Orange County and the surrounding regions. We have about 300 companies as members of the organization, and they encompass the whole geography from Santa Monica all the way to the Inland Empire, from Santa Barbara all the way down to San Clemente. SoCalBio focuses on helping companies in the greater LA area. So this is the population of companies that exist in our region. If you're not familiar of the kind of geographical composition of the industry, we have about 900 companies. Many of these are small. Unfortunately, they are dispersed over a large geography, so many of you might not recognize. It's not like La Jolla with everything is condensed. You're not going to get that in LA. But we do have a large industry that employs about 100,000 people, and that actually puts us in the second place after the greater New York metro area in terms of the number of people working in the bioscience industry. So don't indulge in the Kool-Aid that comes out of other regions that overmarket themselves. LA actually has a large industry with a large number of people working in device, diagnostics, and pharma companies. And this is the composition of the industry by subsegment. Obviously, we're a medical device town. Diagnostics are considered to be part of the medical device industry. But there is some pharma, and pharma employs about 12,000 people, and many companies are emerging in the R&D category, and we do have a large number of distributors in our area, and actually LA is second to New York when it comes to companies engaged in distributing medical products. And then the graph next to it shows that the top region, the top metro area is New York, which includes northern New Jersey and eastern Pennsylvania, and you have a lot of large companies from J&J to Pfizer to Merck. LA comes second, then Boston, Chicago, Philadelphia. So we're one of the top 5 clusters in the country if you put LA, Orange County, and the surrounding communities together. This is the areas that we work on. SoCalBio is one of 57 regional associations around the country that service the industry. In the state of California, there are 3, one for the Bay Area, one for San Diego, and we service the community in between. And more or less, we share the same kind of objectives, which is growing the industry in our backyard. And these are the areas that we work on in terms of advocacy on behalf of the industry, providing business support services to enable companies, particularly emerging companies, access resources from capital, real estate, and so on, and then engage in forming partnerships that would address the kind of bottlenecks and shortages that the industry is facing here. And our top bottleneck is access to capital, and we're trying to do something about it and create an LA dedicated fund in order to invest particularly in emerging technologies and attract other investors to come and set up shop in Los Angeles. Second biggest problem, strategic problem, is availability of real estate to accommodate companies, and we haven't had any development in the greater LA area, except in Irvine, that creates space for the life science industry, and we're hoping that there will be a strategic project to be done in the future in order to address that shortcoming. Finally, if you join SoCalBio, the immediate benefit is our group purchasing program, which saves companies a lot of money, and we have representatives of that program. The preferred vendors are here, Office Depot, VWR, FedEx is here, and so on. Those who are members are not using it, they should. It really works. We have about 106 companies that participate in at least one program, and they are doing about 18 million in business according to stats for 2014, and it is growing. So if you're not a member, you can take advantage of this. And Airgas, of course, is one of the preferred vendors in the area of gas. We have 4 providers who are attending today. So I'm trying to encourage all the companies that are not part of the organization to be members, because that is how we survive. We don't take money from local governments. We don't want money from local governments. We live by membership dues and sponsorship of events. The contributions that come from people like Michael at Perkins Coie and so on, is very important for the organization to continue to survive and to prosper. These are some of the events that we do, and the networking forum is one of them. Our biggest one is, as I mentioned, the annual conference coming up November 6th. There will be more information to be announced about the agenda pretty soon. The conference has its own website, so you can get information there at SoCalBioinvest.com. And then about SoCalBio itself, if you haven't been to our website, you should. It is SoCalBio.org, where you can get a lot of information about the industry, us, and our activities. Now, the topic today is molecular diagnostics, which people have been talking about it since beginning of 1995 to 2000, as an industry that is going to grow pretty fast. It has a lot of growth potential, but it hasn't achieved it yet. Southern California in general has been a hotbed for diagnostic companies since after World War II, particularly after the creation of Beckman Instruments, and many new companies popped up on the scene in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. And I'm just mentioning examples here of companies that just got acquired in the last 10 years for hundreds of millions of dollars or billions of dollars, including Diagnostic Products Corporation, which got bought by Siemens for close to $2 billion. Beckman Coulter of Beckman was changed its name and became Beckman Coulter and was bought by Danaher for about $5 billion. And then other companies, including DACO, which got acquired by Agilent, Hycor Biomedical, which was acquired by Agilent, and Agilent spun it out, then got bought by Leiden Life Sciences, which is a German company. They are still in Garden Grove. And then International Medication Systems, which was in the business of urine analysis workstations, got bought by Danaher for about $300 million. And then Georgia Ayub is sitting over there. He used to be the president and CEO of the last company, One Lambda, which was created in 1984 and was in the business of diagnostic kits to match organ donors with organ recipients and minimize organ rejection. And he was successful in positioning the company to be sold to Thermo Fisher for close to $1 billion. In addition to these companies that are operating in the traditional IVD space, there are a host of new companies capitalizing on new technologies out of our universities in many areas, including molecular diagnostics, and speakers here represent some of these companies. I'm trying to build a whole list, an inclusive list of everybody in other region that's engaged in diagnostics in general and molecular diagnostics in particular. But I listed here some of the companies that I know and I interacted with, from Response Genetics, Liquid Genomics, Laragen, Clarion, Clinical Microsensors, and so on and so forth. And these companies, of course, represent the hope of turning molecular diagnostics into a growth area. Molecular diagnostics, of course, and I'm preaching to the choir, are companies engaged in developing diagnostics that are precise and focus on using biomarkers and other genetic materials in order to diagnose patients better and provide doctors with the tools to be able to adjust treatment to fit the person's genetic makeup. And in that way, it enables personalized medicine. Everybody hopes in personalized medicine to reduce the cost of healthcare, which is escalating pretty fast in the United States, cut waste, and of course improve patient care. The market for molecular diagnostics in the United States is not that big. So if you put everything together, the IVD market is about 50 plus billion, and the market for molecular diagnostics is about 2. And it is 60% dominated by 6 companies. The top one is Roche, and they compete with Abbott, Siemens Healthcare, QIAGEN, and Hologic. The emerging companies and traditional companies that are moving in molecular diagnostics, such as Beckman and so on, compete for the rest, 40%, and of course try to shake the dominance of the top 6 companies in that market segment. a good resource of information about the industry. If you don't know it, you should get it from Calorama Information. Go to the website, www.caloramainformation.com. You'll be able to get that report entitled The World Market for Molecular Diagnostics. Very useful resource, was published last year. So up-to-date information about the market in the United States, the competition, technology drivers, the challenges that the industry is facing. And today's panel is going to be basically focused on this. What is the growth potential of molecular diagnostics? What are the drivers on the supply side, demand side, and entrepreneurship? And then what are the challenges, and these range from funding to creative partnerships, if you're engaged in developing companion diagnostics with big pharma, and there are reimbursement issues, regulatory issues that the panelists are going to touch on, and I'm sure they have other issues that they would like to talk about. And finally, what are the solutions that we should engage in at the public policy level and at other levels in order to enable that subsegment of the IVD market and make personalized medicine a reality. So we have 5 panelists, and our first speaker is going to be Martha Townsend. She has a bachelor's degree in biology from Loyola Marymount and a marketing certificate from UCLA, and over 15 years experience in the diagnostics business. She worked for Chiron Diagnostics and DACO, and there was a companion diagnostic, I think, that DACO developed for patients who are using Herceptin. So she has been engaged in that subsegment of the market for a long period of time. She left DACO in 2006 to start Market Ready RX. She hails from Santa Barbara and uses Market Ready X as a consultancy outfit providing services to many of you engaged in the diagnostics business from the conception stage all the way to launching products. So I want to welcome her. Thank you for coming and making the time for us. And she will be our first speaker, talking about the general picture of how companion diagnostics look like.
Thank you, Ahmed. As Ahmed mentioned, I'm happy to be here. Martha Townsend, I'm the founder of Market Ready RX, and we are a marketing consultancy for primarily personalized diagnostic organizations that want to commercialize their products. Just a little bit on the history of my history in Market Ready RX. If you forward, please. As Ahmed mentioned, I joined DACO in 1998. Very exciting time, and we still continue to be there. I was arriving on the scene as Herceptin, the first companion diagnostic, was launching. Subsequent to that, for the next 5 years, I was involved in 5 subsequent companion diagnostics with pharmaceutical companies in the area of oncology. And then beyond that, expanded my responsibilities to commercial marketing globally, and then eventually went on to support marketing professionals with Market Ready RX and some of our services. So today what we focus on is personalized diagnostics. The majority of our companies are either pharmaceutical companies looking for partners or looking for a diagnostic solution for their drug, or a diagnostic company looking to commercialize. Next slide, please. We are a life cycle marketing company, meaning we look at both pre-launch phase to understand what are the buyer behaviors and do market research in that area, as well as through the launch phase and post-launch phase, help our clients to work their way through the life cycle of commercialization. We can go on through those. So we primarily support corporate teams, executives. If they don't have a marketing department, we're a marketing department for hire. Otherwise, we might work with commercial directors. And here's a little bit of what we do in terms of our services at each of the 4 phases of a life cycle, a product life cycle. So we do have a comprehensive matrix. Now transitioning into the topic at hand today, which I'm extremely passionate about, which is personalized diagnostics. We have mostly all been involved in the personalized diagnostic evolution, and if you look at patient information being very quantitative across the y-axis and axis to clinical knowledge, in the old days clinicians really just looked at sort of a gestalt of what was appropriate, and they had a toolbox of either therapeutics or diagnostics that they would use. In the last maybe 15 to 20 years, we've worked with practice guidelines and are using consensus-based treatment. So any of us that get treated, physicians are really using consensus-based treatments. As we move up, evidence-based patient populations, we are really focusing on populations of testing that are more likely or less likely to respond to a certain therapy. And personalized diagnostics, which is the area that we spend most of our time in, is the area of actually identifying how you might respond to a particular therapy and how that diagnostic would apply. And so the value of a diagnostic increases as we start to become a little more concrete in terms of our evidence-based. And that's where we are today. Next slide, please. The challenges in companion diagnostics today are many, but really for a diagnostic company, only about 20% of their diagnostics commercialize. Many fall out in clinical trials. Out of 89 diagnostics that have gone to the FDA, only 12 have received formal approval since the end of 2014. So that's significant, and that's a high risk for a diagnostic company approaching a partnership with a drug company. In turn, a companion diagnostic company poses some risks for the therapeutics. A drug development program has to introduce all of these other activities that a companion diagnostic brings, from commercialization to another regulatory path and other considerations. And so one of the biggest challenges that I see is aligning a pharmaceutical and a diagnostic partner in a B2B relationship and trying to make that effective and help them communicate effectively. Next slide, please. And so, in turn, we talk a little bit about what the companion diagnostic company does to impact the therapeutic. If there's limited reimbursement for the companion diagnostic, there's no script for the therapeutic. If there's unclear patient reports on the diagnostic, the clinicians will be confused. It will delay, again, the market uptake of the therapeutic, and so on and so forth. And in turn, the therapeutic impacts the companion diagnostic equally. With clinical trials that are not aligned with the diagnostic trial, proving to be very, very challenging for the diagnostic company when they go to the FDA and globally. Next slide. So we talk about 5 must-haves with our diagnostic and pharmaceutical partner. A very clear B2B governance structure, commercial alignment from day one, regulatory experience on the diagnostic partner's side, someone who actually has a dialogue going with the FDA at the agency related to a companion diagnostic submission. Supply chain expertise, because you never want to backorder a companion diagnostic, as well as clinical coordination of the trials of both the diagnostic and the drug. And so Ahmed was very generous. He took 10 years off my age, but I have been in the industry for over 25 years and in diagnostics since I was a little girl just out of school, working with Nichols Institute Diagnostics when it was very, very young and not Quest yet, and have been very fortunate to have colleagues and mentors in breakthrough diagnostics, bringing products to market for about 25 years. So I thank you.